All right, we'll say good morning. Let's begin. Today's daf is daf ches. We are picking up from the Mishnah on Zayin Amud Beis 7b. The Mishnah about 8 lines up from the bottom. Our shir this morning is dedicated by Mark and Elsa Lustin in memory of Elsa's father, Morris Cantor, Moshe Leib ben Chaim. We hope that in the merit of our Talmud Torah and the Shem will have an aliyah and the family in a chama. Thank you for the sponsorship. And by Alan and Sue Meyrowitz, in honor of the bris of their new grandson, the Bishar Tova Matzlachas is going to happen today after davening. We hope that Emirat Hashem, the young man, will be zocha to enter into the bris of Avram Avinu Bizmano, will grow up to be an incredible ben Torah, a source of nachas to his parents, to his mishpacha, to his community, but most of all to our Kodesh Baruch Hu. I will say a thank you to Yona and Shushi Ehrenfeld, dedicating the shiurim this month in memory of Yona's grandfather, Reb Gedalia Ben Yaakov HaKohen. We hope that in merit of our Talmud Torah, Neshama will have an aliyah. Amen. All right, so let's begin. It says the Mishnah on Zayin Amud Beis. The Mishnah says the following. The Mishnah says, Nishmat HaBarzel Mikato. So we'll say, again, remember our topic in this parak is Golus. And what circumstances lead to Golus? What type of situations ultimately lead a person or end a person up in the air mikvah? So Nishmat HaBarzel Mikato, Bahara. We'll say a person is chopping wood and the axe head flies off the handle. We'll say, I don't mean flying off the handle in a metaphorical way. I mean like literally the axe head flies off the handle and goes ahead and kills someone. So what's the halacha? V'harag. Rabbi Omer Eino Gola. So Rabbi says you don't go to Golas for this. The Chachamim say Gola. The Chacham say no, you do go to Golas for this. Mina Eitza Mispakia. So we'll say again, we'll define this in the Gemara. What happens if, let's say again, Reuven is chopping wood, and as he's chopping wood, a splinter flies off the tree and goes ahead and kills someone. So what's the halacha? So Mina Eitza Mispakia. Rabbi Omer Gola. Rabbi says you go to Golas. The Chacham say in a Gola that you don't go to Golas. Okay, so we'll say let's analyze this. Says the Gemara, Tanya, Amrulem Rabbi the Chachamim. So Rabbi says to the Chacham, does the pasuk say, when speaking about the person who kills accidentally, that the axe head flies off the handle? The both say the pasuk ultimately, the lashon of the pasuk is v'nashal habarzel min ha'etz. Literally, again, it means literally translated, it means that the iron will fly off the wood. Rabbi understands this, Rabbi, to mean that what's killing the individual over here is the splinter from the wood that is being chopped. It's not the axe head that's killing, but rather it's the splinter. Further, I'm going to say it says earlier in the pasuk 8, and it says later on in the pasuk 8, just like when the pasuk is speaking about earlier about someone who's going to chop wood in the forest. So to the eights that is mentioned in conjunction with the death of the victim, is talking about the piece of wood that splinters off. So we'll say, so Rabbi understands eights over here. You see, essentially the machlokes as we're going to be between Rabbi and the Chachamim is pauses v'nashal habarzel min ha'etz. Ultimately, again, the iron will detach or will splinter off from the wood. So there are two ways of interpreting that. Either that can mean, again, that the axe head is flying off the handle and it's the axe head that's killing, or it's a piece of wood that splinters from the wood that's being chopped and that which kills. Rabbi understands eights to be referring to the wood that is being chopped. It's a splinter which kills the victim. The Chacham understand that it's a reference ultimately, again, to the axe head that is flying off the handle and is killing the individual. So the Gemara says, we'll say both of them are dashed in the same pasuk. So we'll say, listen to this. Literally, the pasuk is Rebbe Savar Yesh Ein Masores. So we'll say Rebbe holds that ultimately, again, we give primacy to the way the word is written. V'nishal ksiv. I will say, so the way the word is written is Vinishal. If you look at Rashi, Rashi says over Yeshin Masoras, Kimashanimsra Ksav Shal Teva Lamoshe. We'll say we darshan it based on how the word is written in the Torah. Not the way it is read. Kisha atakore. V'nashal atamosif havara shal aleph o shal hey beinun l'shin. Ulafia masoras v'nishal ksivu. Perusho nishal shehishil habarzel min ha'etz. So we'll say when you read it, v'nishal is v'nishal habarzel min ha'etz, which literally means, and the iron will detach something from the wood. And which will say refers to what? Refers to the splinter that comes off of the wood being chopped. That is what kills someone. For Rabbanan saying, Yesh Ein Mikra. Ultimately, again, no, we assign primacy to the way the word is read. And it's read Benashal. We'll say Benashal Kamina. Benashal means it detaches from. So we'll say if you read it, Venishal Habarzal Mina 8, it means, and the iron will detach something from the tree. What does the iron detach from the tree? What does the iron detach from the tree? The splinter. It's the splinter that kills. If you read it Vinashal, Vinashal Barzal Mina 8 means, and the iron will detach from the wood. Iron detaching from the wood references or refers to the axe head detaching from the handle. So more Rabbi does Rabbi hold that ultimately again we assign primacy to the way the word is written. Rabbi Yitzchak, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Meroz, Shammai, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Akiva, Kulu Sviru, Sviri Luhu, Yesh Ein Mikra. I will say, but one second, all of these opinions, including Rabbi, are on record as saying Yesh Ein Mikra, that ultimately again we assign primacy to the way the word is written. Hainu Dika'amar Luhu Va'od. That's why Rabbi said the Gemara ultimately adds in when introducing this whole discussion, says Va'od. Rabbi say this drasha over here, this drasha is a supplemental one. But Rabbi's sheet is really learned out, as we said earlier on in the Gemara. Amar Papa, man deshada pisila dikla. So now that we're discussing these type of cases, so remember again, this is the fundamental machlokes, ultimately again between Rabbi and the Chachamim. Is it the splinter that's killing, or is it the axe head that's killing? So both say there are other ramifications of this halacha. For example, Amar Papa, or this machlokes, I should say. Amar Papa, man deshada pisila dikla. So listen to this case. Someone who throws a clump of earth at a palm tree, a date palm. And what happens? Va'asa tamri, va'azol tamri, v'katel. We'll say what happened? Reuben throws a cluster of earth at the date palm. And he throws, let's say, a cluster of dates. He hits the cluster of dates. Cluster of dates falls down and kills Reuben. Or I should say, it's Reuben throwing it. Kills Shimon. All right? So we'll say, what's the halacha? So, banu lemachlokes de Rabbi v'Rabbanan. Ultimately, again, we have come to the machlokes of Rabbi and the Rabbanan. So we'll say, the idea over here is according to Rabbi, one would be chayiv for this, we'll say, because this is similar to chopping wood. And according to Rabbi, when the splinter comes out and kills someone, then what? You're chayiv. You're chayiv for that. According to the Chachamim, you're not chayiv for that. Why? We'll say we haven't said this, but according to the Chachamim, that would be what's called secondary force. That would be an indirect force that's ultimately killing the victim. It's not, when the axe head falls off, that's my direct force. If the axe head hits the wood and a splinter flies off, that's secondary according to the Chacham. According to Rabbi, that's still primary. According to the Chacham, it's secondary. Similarly, Reuben throws a clump of earth at the palm tree, right? He hits the cluster of dates. The dates fall down and kill Shimon. According to Rabbi, you're chayiv. According to the Chachamim, you're pater. Says the Gemara. So Gemara says, Pshita, that's obvious. What would I have thought? I would have thought that even according to Rabbi, this is considered to be like secondary force. Kamash Shmuel no. Kamash Shmuel say that according to Rabbi, this is still called direct force. According to Rabbi, so how do you ever find what's the case of secondary force? We'll say, listen to this. Kigon. The Shada Pisa, we'll say this would be the case according to Rabbi of secondary force. The Shada Pisa, Umachya Legarma, Va'azal Garma, Umachya Lekabasa, Va'asa Tamri, Ve'ezol Tamri, it was like Chagadya. So what happens? So Reuben goes ahead, throws the clump of dirt. The clump of dirt hits the twig, which then hits the dates, which then dislodges the dates that falls upon Shimon and kills Shimon. I'll say that according to Rabbi would be a case of secondary force. So we'll say, so how do we paskin in this machlokus between Rabbi and the Chacham? So listen to this. So the Rambam paskins, the Rambam says the following. This is in Hilchos Rotseach, Perek Vav, Halacha Tes Vav. Nishmat habarzel mikato. If Reuven is chopping wood in the forest and the axe head flies off the axe handle and kills someone, so harei zagola. We both say this individual goes to Galus. Reuven goes to Galus. In other words, this is called an act of accidental killing. However, Nishmat habarzel mina eita mispakeya eino gola. But if Reuven's chopping wood, and what happens? A splinter comes off the wood. And kills Shimon. Then what? He doesn't go to Galus. Right? We'll say, so what do we see? We are passing like the Chachamim and not like Rabbi. That ultimately the case of killing Bishogi was where the axe head flies off and kills someone. If Reuven's chopping wood, and as a result a splinter comes off and kills Shimon, we'll say you don't go to Galus for that. Why? Here we go. Because we'll say that is not considered to be the primary force of Reuven. We'll say that's secondary force. We'll say that's like extenuating circumstances beyond my control, and therefore I don't go to Galus. Also remember, as you saw yesterday, you only go to Galus when, as we're going, and we're going to see this again today, when had I exercised proper precaution, I could have avoided this mishap. When, again, I took all the proper precautions, but something beyond my control occurred, I don't go to Galus for that, Rabbi say. Furthermore, again, when it's secondary force, I also don't go to Galus. So again, goes to this case, we'll say similarly, same case, if I take a clod of earth, and I throw that earth at the palm tree, and it dislodges the dates, and the dates fall on someone and kill them, I am also potter. So we'll say, so what we see over here is that in order to be chayiv galus, of course, that's to be an accident, but there has to be some level of what we'll call direct causation. I'm chopping wood. I go ahead and I bring my axe down, and as I'm bringing my axe down, the axe flies off and kills someone. Chas v'shalom. Then I'm chayiv galus. If I'm chopping the wood and a splinter from the wood comes and kills someone, I'm not chayiv. I throw a clump of earth at the palm tree, dislodges dates and falls on someone, not chayiv for that. Good. Says the Mishnah. Hazorik Evanosh Ramos. Also, we're going to come to a variety of different kinds of cases. Person throws a rock into Rosh Hashanah in the harag and kills someone. We're going to define the scope of this case. Harei zagola. We'll say such a person ultimately again goes to galus. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Omer, imichishi yatzasa even miyado. Listen to this. However, so if I went ahead, so halacha number one is if I go ahead and I throw a stone in Rosh Hashanah and kill someone, I go to Galus. Number two, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says, if ultimately again when I threw the stone, no one was in Rosh Hashanah, and what happens after the stone left my hand? Someone stuck their head out of the window and got knocked in the head and died, unfortunately. We'll say I am potter. Why am I potter? Because at the time that I threw the stone, it did not pose a danger to anyone. The fact that Reuven stuck his head out, we're going to define it. So the fact that Reuven stuck his head out afterwards, the liability seems to rest on Reuven's shoulders. So next, so the Gemara says, let's listen to this. Let's say I'm throwing stones in my chatzar. So it's actually a very interesting case. I'm throwing stones in my chatzar. I'm doing target practice in my chatzar. And then what happens? So we'll say then what happens? Reuven's there and Reuven gets killed. If ultimately again Reuven has permission to be on my property, gola. Then we'll say I'm chayiv for the accidental death of Reuven. But if essentially Reuven was trespassing, gola. Ultimately again, I don't go to Galus for the death of Reuven. Ultimately, again, the way the pasuk frames it is, a person will come with his friend into the forest. Well, say just as a yar, a forest, both parties have a right, have permission to be there. So to Rabbi say, the only time that I'm chayiv for Galus is ultimately again in a situation where both the damager or the killer and the victim both have the right to be there. I will say, however, again, if I'm on my property and Reuven doesn't have right to be on my property, and I do something that results in the death of Reuven, then the mice again, I have no liability. Why? Because Reuven had no right, no license to be there. Abu Shalomer, We'll say similarly again, the paradigmatic example of killing someone with shogi, the Torah brings down is chopping wood. Just like chopping wood is a rishus, right? Is an optional non-mitzvah activity. Kol rishus. We'll say so too again. I'm only chayiv galus if I kill someone while performing an optional act. It's a discretional act. However, yotza ha'av makes. We'll say, but if a father is disciplining his child, again we're going to discuss this. Father is hitting his child for discipline, or harav harodes talmido, or a Rabbi is hitting his talmid for discipline, or shliach bezdin. Or I will say again, shliach bezdin pashtos is going ahead and administering lashes. I will say all of these cases are mitzvos, right? Father disciplining his son, Rabbi disciplining the child, shliach bezdin administering malchus, and the person dies in the process, right? Meaning the person dies as a result of being quote unquote disciplined. All of these individuals are potter, right? Because again, remember, a person is only chayiv goes if they accidentally kill someone in the performance of a discretionary act. But if it's a mitzvah act, ultimately, again, they are potter. So we'll say there's Rabbi Mezid. So let's now the Gemara is going to begin by analyzing this. So remember again, the Mishnah began by saying that if a person throws a stone into Rishus Harabim, so the Mishnah says that ultimately again he goes to Golus. So the Gemara says, why? A person throws a stone into Rishus Harabim, Mezid, we both said, Rishus Harabim, there are people there. So if you throw a stone into Rishus Harabim, both said, the statistical probability, you're going to hit someone. So the Mezid, that's called a Mezid. Now again, remember, it can't be a real Mezid in the classic sense, because remember, we saw from our Sanhedrin days that a real mazid, right? An absolute mazid is what? Meaning you have intentionality for the act and intentionality for the victim. Right? So again, it's not necessarily a classic mazid, but the idea is don't call it shogeg. You go ahead and you throw a stone into the middle of our Sarabim and you end up killing someone. Don't act surprised. You threw a stone into a densely populated area of the Pashtos. That's what's going to occur. To which the Gemara says, "I'm going to have Shmuel bar Yitzchak b'sosras koslo." What's the case? The case is where I have property that is right up next to Sarabim, and I am dismantling the stone wall of my property. And while dismantling the stone wall of my property, so a stone goes ahead and flies off and kills someone. Someone says, okay, you should have been careful. To which the Gemara says, no. Now I'm demolishing my wall at night. So again, we'll say, why am I doing it at night? Because I'm assuming people aren't around that night. What are you talking about? It's not true. At night, you also have to be careful. We'll say, the idea is whenever you're doing something either in or next to Sarabim, one must be vigilant. Because one must always assume that there are always people in Sarabim. To which the Gemara answers, Besosas, first wide line, La'ashpa. We'll say, what's the case? The case is where he's dismantling his wall into a garbage dump. So what's the case? We'll say, what's the case? If there are a lot of people in the garbage dump, and we'll say, now, why would there be a lot of people in garbage dumps? So we'll say, essentially, so in the historical times, so garbage dumps also doubled as public restrooms, right? So the idea over here is meaning where would the person understand, where would the public go? So garbage dumps. So we'll say, so the idea over here is, the Gemara is asking, okay, now you have this garbage dump. So we'll say, so if it's used by the public, again, not necessarily for their garbage, but for relieving themselves. So a person has to know there are going to be people there. Then again, if he's dismantling his wall and the stone kills someone, he's bosheya. He's negligent. If they're going to say this is the type of garbage dump that people just use for garbage, they don't normally relieve themselves, so he doesn't have to be choshesh that there's pedestrian traffic there, then he's in ones. Then ultimately, again, it's extenuating circumstances. We'll say, listen to this. What's the case? So the nature of this particular garbage dump is that people used it to relieve themselves at night, but didn't really use it by day. V'ika demikri v'yosef. But sometimes, occasionally, people would use it by day. Infrequently, people would use it by day. So what happens? Reuben is dismantling his wall right next to this garbage dump during the day. Why is he doing it during the day? Why? Because so many people aren't usually there. But now, today somebody was there and he's dismantling it. One of the stones kills someone. So you can't call him negligent because we'll say people don't normally use it so much by day. Ones namilo the high ika the mikri diyasi, but you also can't call him an ones. Why? Because I will say he knows people sometimes do use it by day. So because it's not regularly used, he's not called a posheya. Because it's sometimes used, he's not called an ones. So what are you called if you're not a posheya and you're not an ones? What are you called? You're called a shogeg, and that's why ultimately again he'll go ahead and he will go to God. So we'll say, so that's the Gemara's case of Hazorek Evan the Risham. So we'll say again, remember, even though when you read it, you think it's talking about a case of a guy who's just throwing a stone into Moshe Rabbeinu, Chas v'shalom. We'll say that guy's a posheya. He's negligent. This is the specific case of the person dismantling his stone wall into a garbage dump during the day that's more often than not, not used by day. But today, someone happened to be using it by day. Stone killed someone. He's not called a posheya. He's not called an ones. He's called a shogeg. Therefore, goes to go. So, Rabbi Yaakov Omer. We'll say, so listen to this. So, Tarabanan. Umatza prat lemamtzias atzma. So, we'll say the pasuk says umatza. So this is umatzas re'ehu v'mes. We'll say this is the paradigmatic case. The person goes into the forest to chop wood, and what happens, as we saw again, v'nashal abarzal mena'etz. That was the last gemara. Umatza es re'ehu, and the axe head finds his friends. Reuben's chopping wood, and then Reuben's axe head flies off the handle and finds Shimon. So says the gemara umatza prat lamamtzias asmo. We'll say this comes to exclude someone who makes himself found. Also, which means what? Look at Rashi for just a moment. Prat lamamtzias atzmo. Acharei kein hotzi alas rosho min hachalon v'kiva la'evan b'metzcho. We'll say, what this comes to exclude is the following. If haloch l'maisa, again, Reuven was doing something, and at the beginning of his action, Shimon was not present. Then after the action was initiated, Shimon presented himself, so to speak. He inserted himself into this picture, and then Nebuch, Shimon is killed. Reuven is not chayav for that. Why? Because I will say at the time of the performance of the action, Shimon was not present. Therefore, if Shimon subsequently inserts himself into this picture and as a result dies through the actions of Reuven that were initiated before Shimon's entry onto the scene, Reuven will not be chayiv. So Gemara says, "Mikan Amar Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, in Mishiyatasa Evan Miyado Hotzi Alas Rosha V'Kibla Pater." So let's listen to this. That's why according to Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, if Reuven throws a stone, let's say right now it's in the forest, not in the shrub. Reuven throws a stone, and when he's throwing stones, Shimon is not present. He looks around and doesn't see anyone. And then what happens after he releases the stone? Shimon walks in, or Shimon sticks his head out of his window, and then the stone kills Shimon. Reuven will be pater. L'meimra the matzah meikar mashma. Are you telling me then that the word matzah means something which was present from beforehand? But yet, or mini areza kasha umatzah prat lamatzah. If you take a look at Rashi, this matzah over here is v'im ish kilo yela goel v'siga yada umatzah kedei geula. So, we'll say this is talking about if you sell ancestral land, you sell a steachuza, ultimately again, you have the right to go ahead and redeem that property. Look at Rashi, umatzah prat lamatzah v'moches steachuza so uba legolo. In Kofer So also listen to this. If I sell ancestral land to Reuven, and then I want to redeem that land, the Torah forces Reuven to sell it back to me. Again, he's entitled to recapture what he spent, but he's obligated to sell me back ancestral land. All of this is done in an effort to maintain tribal continuity within Eretz Yisrael. We'll say, what happens if at the time I sold the land, I had money, I didn't need to sell the land, I had money already. So I'll say the assumption is people only sell ancestral land when they're desperate for cash. What happens if I had the cash? So if I had cash on hand, but I sold the land anyway, then the seller is not obligated to sell it back to me. So the Gemara says, umatzah prat lematzui. So once I matzah means now I find money to buy back the land. This excludes someone who had money already. So we'll say this comes to exclude someone ultimately again who's just selling land for his own convenience. Only time a person should sell ancestral land is when he's desperate for cash. Then as soon as he has cash, the Torah gives him the right to buy back from the purchaser. But if he had cash on hand and he's just selling land because it's convenient for him, then we don't force the purchaser to sell it back. So we'll say, so again, you see that the word matzah means something different. We'll say, so the Rabbi answers, matzah is interpreted in accordance with the context of the pasuk. So the Gemara says, Hasam mein yana dikra umatzah dumya devihisiga. We'll say thereby stay gula, thereby stay achuza, by ancestral land. So matzah is compared to the hisiga yado. My hisiga yado mehashta. We'll say just like again, the hisiga yado means from now. If he comes into cash now, af matzah nai mehashta. So both say matzah is interpreted as present as well. Hacham in yana dikra, but by killing someone with shogeg, it's also interpreted in accordance with the pasuk. Umatzah dumya deyar. Matzah is comparable to the forest. Just like the forest was something that was there originally. So that's what we'll say. The word umatzah also means something that was there originally. So we'll say the ideal here is very important. The only time a person is chayiv for killing b'shogeg is when the victim was present at the time the action was initiated. If the victim came on the scene afterwards, then the person is not chayiv galot. So we'll say that is called an onis in extenuating circumstance case. So if Reuben is in the forest and he's throwing rocks and he looks around, he does his due diligence, he looks around, there is no one around. And we'll say whether or not throwing rocks is a good idea is a different discussion. But let's assume right now he's throwing rocks, and when he releases the rock, Shimon was not in sight. And then what happens? After he releases the rock, Shimon walks into the path, the trajectory of the rock. Reuben will not be chayiv, that we'll say. Why? Because since Shimon was not present at the beginning of the process, therefore, again, this is not called killing b'shogeg, but rather it's an ones case. So most of the Gemara is right. Hazorik esaben, amli amiraban l'rava, mimai demachatavas eitzim dereshos, dilma mechatavas eitzim desukkos. So remember again, the Mishnah went ahead and said the next qualification was that you're only chayiv if you kill someone while engaged in a discretionary act. However, if you kill someone while engaged in a mitzvah, you are pater from galus. Where does the Gemara get that from? The Mishnah understands that from the fact that the Torah uses chopping wood as the example for killing someone b'shogeg. Just like chopping wood is a reshus, right? So is a discretionary act. So too again, you're only chayiv galus if engaged in a discretionary act. The Gemara says, how do you know? Maybe mimai the mechatavas eitim dereshus dilma mechatavas eitim desukkah or mechatavas eitim dema'aracha. Maybe we're talking about a guy who's chopping down wood for a sukkah, or we're talking about a guy who's chopping down wood for wood on the mizbeach, which are both say are mitzvah acts, and maybe even despite that, the Torah says that what if you kill someone even while engaged in a mitzvah, you still go to galus. Lav mitzvah, hashnami lav mitzvah. We'll say Tush Gemara something very interesting. You know, even if he was chopping wood for the sukkah, or even if he was chopping wood for the mizbeach, they will say there is no mitzvah to chop wood for the sukkah. There is no mitzvah to chop wood for the mizbeach. What's the proof to that? If you happen to find chopped wood, you can use that for your sukkah. If you happen to find chopped wood, you can use that for the mizbeach. Since ultimately, again, there's no mitzvah to chop wood, even if you were doing it for these particular mitzvah purposes, the act of chopping the wood is not called a mitzvah, and therefore one would go to galus if one kills someone as a result. But using that logic, the Gemara, so we have a kasha. So we'll say yet again, what about the case of the Mishnah? We'll say when the Mishnah illustrates cases of mitzvah performance which results in accidental death, so the Gemara gives three examples. Number one, a father who strikes child. We'll say obviously also the Mishnah is echoing different. Good morning, Mr. Schoenfeld. Welcome back. Even if Lamaisa again. So I just want to also point out, if we have time, these discussions also about physical discipline, which were clearly a staple in Mishnaic and Talmudic discipline. It's interesting. Obviously, the world is different. Times are different. Discipline is different. Everything is different. Our dar, bless you, our dar needs different things. Our dar needs a lot more love and a lot less. Still discipline, but a different kind of discipline. Anyway, but we'll go with the Gemara. So the Mishnah was speaking about accidentally killing someone. The Mishnah uses the examples of a father who disciplines a child, a Rabbi who disciplines a Talmud, and a Shliach Beis who is the minister who is administering a court-ordered punishment. A court-ordered punishment to the victim. So the Gemara says, "Lema kevan dilu gamer lav mitzvah hashtanami lav mitzvah." So I don't have to say the same thing. I'll say, so maybe I could say, listen, since if the child would behave, if the student would listen, if the person wouldn't violate an Aveira, they wouldn't need this discipline. So maybe now also these patch, right? These patch halach, right? This hitting also should not be a mitzvah. To which the Gemara says, listen to this, it's actually quite wild. Hasam afagav the Gemara mitzvah. Even if my kid is well behaved, so giving them a patch is still a good idea. It's like I said, it's not halakha on my side. It's just I will say, but what it does, I will say, just what the Gemara is, which is exceptionally important, I will say, is the notion of discipline. I will tell you that one of the things, unfortunately, that there is a breakdown within greater society is the notion of disciplining a child. I will say, it's an amazing thing to see that we live in a time where children have a vote. Right, children have a vote, right? Like suddenly, again, we ask the opinions of like an 8-year-old, of a 9-year-old, of a 4-year-old, of a 13-year-old. Children have a say where they go to school. Children have a say whether they go to school. Children have a say with this. I was saying that children have a vote, right? Children do not know what the heck they're talking about, right? They're ill-informed. They're underdeveloped. Their brains, mamish, are often influenced by a whole variety of different things. And more often than not, it's the parent's responsibility to make decisions for the child while deluding the child to think that they're actually a partner in the decision. But Lamaisa, again, I'll say this, there's a lot to speak about with this, because look what Chazal say. So again, I was like, we're going to apply this, just taking out the hitting piece. So the Gemara says, even if the child ultimately, again, is discipline, there's still a mitzvah to hit them. I will say it's actually an incredible pasuk. Someone else says in Mishlei. Literally, Yisar means punish your child and discipline him, and he will give delights to your soul. What Shlomo HaMelech is saying is a highly disciplined child ultimately, again, will give nachas. Also, it doesn't mean be a dictator with your kids. That's not what it means. Be a benevolent dictator, right? But it doesn't mean a dictator. Also, again, it's a very important concern. Also, you see this. I've said this many times. I was once in a store, and mamish, this little kid having a tantrum, a meltdown, and the parent gets down on one knee, and the parent says, "Use your words. Tell me what's wrong." Like, slap that kid upside the head and get them out of the store. What do you mean? Ridiculous. You have this meltdown in the store. You act like a little brat. I don't mean I'm literally slapping them upside the head. But I mean, I was like, if you don't discipline your child when they're young and they act in ways that are inappropriate, and they don't exhibit proper respect to you, and they don't exhibit proper respect to other adults, and they don't know how to behave, and they don't understand that they're not always going to get their way, and there are rules, and if you break rules, there are repercussions, and whether you like the rules or you don't like the rules, these are the rules. I will say we do a disservice for our kids, because children who don't know how to live with rules, and children who do not know how to live within a behavioral framework established by a higher authority becomes adults who have difficulty with rules, become adults who have difficulty with authority, become adults who don't know how to live within normative frameworks as well. So both say, it's okay, I want to tell you something. Everybody in our door, this is totally not part of our shir, but everybody in our door, everybody's afraid to discipline their kids, because if I discipline my kids, they're going to go off the derech. So your children will not go off the derech if you discipline them. If you're nasty, if you're mean, if you're heartless, then your children will go off the derech, absolutely. But if you discipline with love, if you have a stern household, but with incredible love, and if you try to explain to your children, even though you don't understand this, I'm the parent, I know better, and this is what has to be done, I will say, not only will they not go off the derech, but ultimately, again, you'll bring them closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because you allow them to be better and more productive children. That's what Shlomo HaMelech is saying is, don't be afraid to discipline. Don't be afraid to parent. Don't be afraid to say, I know more than you do, and therefore, you don't like it. I understand it, but this is what you're going to have to do. Let's collaborate to make it the best in the framework in which you have to exist. Even if the child is disciplined, Shlomo HaMelech says, the greater the amount of discipline one could go ahead and create for a child, the more successful the child will be. So the Gemara goes weiter. So we'll say, so just like again, so Rabbi comes along and says afterwards, that we'll say there's another ayah. What's the other ayah? That when you come, you go ahead and You meet your friend in the forest. My yar, just like a forest, will say, if you want to come in, you can come in. If you don't want to come in, you don't have to come in. So to Ginabos, we're talking about a rishus. So to anything ultimately that results in the death b'shogeg is a rishus. These are like a mitzvah, misagi lo ayil. And I will say, if you're thinking about a mitzvah, that we're talking about coming into a mitzvah, or if you're talking about a mitzvah act, so how could it be enough that a person wouldn't come into the forest? So unless you're talking about a discretionary act. So we'll say, is that true? Wherever the pasuk says asher, that the word asher, ultimately again it means a discretionary act. So we'll see it. The pasuk says, if a person will become tameh and will not become pure, the Torah is talking about over here. If a person walks into the Beis Hamikdash in a state of impurity, there's a prohibition of kares. So is that saying that a person has the discretion to become tar or not? So the Gemara says, "Ibai mitma, ibai lo mitma." I'm sorry. Is this talking about a situation where a person has the right to decide to become tamei, not to become tamei? But what about a case of a meis mitzvah where there's an obligation to become tamei? Is then a person will not be chayiv ultimately coming into Beis Hamikdash in a state of tuma? Shani hasan damakra. We'll say it's different over there because the pasuk says tamei yihya mikol makom. Because we'll say the pasuk says tamei yihya. We'll say tamei yihya ultimately means he will be tamei mikol makom in every situation. Hahumi, switch the Gemara 1 second. Humi boile lichidisayyo. But we need that pasuk. We'll say teach me something else. Tamei yihya the rabbos tuvul yom. I will say tamei yihya ultimately again comes to include the case of tuvul yom. I will say tuvul yom is someone who went to the mikvah but is missing hair of shemesh. I must remember again to ultimately again become tar. It's not enough just to go to the mikvah, but rather a person ultimately again has to wait till sunset. So the Gemara says, Tuma sobo, l'rabos mechusar kippurim. His tuma is, I will say, what does this come to include? This comes to include someone who has not brought the requisite karbanos. Amrale ana me'ot tuma so ka'amina. Ultimately, again, I'm learning it out from the phrase ot tuma sobo. Ikidam asni laha. I will say, so others have this discussion in a different way. Let's listen to this. Becharish b'katzar tishbos. So the pasuk literally says, "Bacharish" means plowing, "Chatzir" means reaping. You shall tishbos, you shall rest. We'll say, what does this mean? What is this referring to? Rabbi Kiva Omer, Eino tzarach lomar charish shel shviyos, Chatzir shel shviyos, sheikvar ne'emar asad chalotis v'kam chalotis mar. So Rabbi Kiva says, we'll say, I don't need this pasuk to teach me about the prohibited activities of Shemitah. Why? Because the pasuk already teaches me about the prohibited activities of Shemitah. The pasuk says, you shall not plow your field, nor shall you prune your vineyard. Rather, what is the pasuk coming to teach you about saying? Even again, plowing of the field before Shemitah. I'm not allowed to plow my field before Shemitah in a way that enhances the field for Shemitah. Or similarly again, I can't go ahead and work the land. Actually, what this really means is any plant life that grew more than 1/3 of its growth on the Shemitah year has the din of Kiddushas Shvius, even though what? It attains full maturity in the post-Shemitah year. Rabbi Shmuel says, Machorish Rishus, Avkatzi Rishus. Rabbi Shmuel says, I will say, the Gemara is bringing up this discussion, I will say, because it's a parallel discussion to our discussion about Ya'ar. Just like by killing the Shogeg, the Gemara understands that the Torah uses the example of people walking into a forest to use as an example of discretionary activity. So too, again, the Gemara is having a parallel discussion over here with this pasuk, ultimately using this pasuk to discuss discretionary activity as well. Shmuel Omer, Macharish Rishus, just like plowing Rabbi is a discretionary activity. Avkatzi Rishus, so too reaping is also discretionary activity. You also so Rabbi Shmuel's understanding that this pasuk is referring to Shabbos. That on Shabbos, bacharish ubakatzir tishbos. That on Shabbos you can't plow your field, obviously, and you can't go ahead and cut down the wheat either. What type of plowing? What type of harvesting are we talking about? Discretionary plowing, discretionary harvesting. So the Gemara says, Yotza katzira omer shu mitzvah. The Rabbi say, what would this come to exclude? This would ultimately come to exclude. Ultimately, again, katzira sa omer, a reaping of the omer, which Rabbi say is a mitzvah. Look at Rashi for just a moment. Rabbi Shmuel Omer macharish. It's almost right across in Rashi. Ubeshabbos koy lohachinak et charish katzi lo melacha mahacharish shiny oser lecha b'Shabbos charish shal rishusu shein lanu charish shal mitzvah af katzir any oser lecha eloch shal rishus yotze katzir Omer. Rabbi say so again. what are we excluding when it comes to Shabbos, or what are we prohibiting when it comes to Shabbos? Rabbi said, just like the act of plowing is a discretionary one, there's no mitzvah act of plowing, so to the act of harvesting is also a discretionary one. But if you need to harvest the Omer on Shabbos, the Karban Omer on Shabbos, then one would be permitted to do so. How do you know we're talking about a planting of Rishos? Maybe we're talking about the planting of the barley that will be used for the Omer, and it's a mitzvah. And nevertheless, the Torah said that you should abstain, even though it's a mitzvah. That doesn't make sense. We'll say there is no mitzvah to plant the Omer. The mitzvah is what Rabbi say is to what? Is to harvest the Omer. If you were to find the barley that was already planted, you need not plant additional barley for the sake of Karban Omer. Aser, the Rabbi. So say Ravina raised the question to Rabbi. Yatsa ava Makkos or das tamido. Rabbi say, so the Mishnah said, remember again, the Mishnah excluded the case of a father who's hitting his son, the Rebbe who is disciplining his Talmud, and the Shliach Beis Din who is ministering a punishment. If any of these individuals accidentally kill someone, then what Rabbi say? They are pater. Why? Because the assumption is that they are engaged in the performance of a mitzvah. Amai leima kevan dilu gamer lav mitzvah hashnami lav mitzvah. Rabbi says, we're saying the same thing before that they said, which is Rabbi says the same discussion. Say that if these individuals were quote unquote disciplined already, there would be no mitzvah to go ahead and what? There would be no mitzvah to discipline them. Therefore, again, perhaps this act of discipline is not a mitzvah, to which the Gemara says, Hasam afagav the gomer nami mitzvah kabed. Therefore, say in the realm of discipline, as we said before, even if the child, the student is already disciplined, there's still a mitzvah to discipline them. L'chsiv, Yisra ben chav yanichecha, v'yitem adam l'nashecha. Hada amarava, lav milsihi da'amri, kitsira dumi decharisha. So Rabbi said, that which I said before, ignore. When we speak about ksir dumit decharisha, macharisha matzah charish eno chorish, right? So say just like again, if I found, meaning by Karban Omer, if I found it plowed already, I need not plow. Af ksir nami matzah katzer eno kotzer. So it's again, I will say if I went ahead and I found barley that was already cut down, could I not use that already for the Karban Omer as well? V'yisagadaytcha mitzvah matzah katzer eno kotzer mitzvah liktor lahavi, and I will say it can't be because Lamais again. If you say we're talking about a case of a mitzvah that is not true by the Karban, so there is a mitzvah not only to bring barley, but there's a mitzvah to what? To dafka harvest the barley that is going to be used for the sake of the mitzvah. So bottom line, what comes out of this Mishnah? So first of all, again, I will say, so we saw the cases of Rosh Hashanah, we established those already. I will say what we come out from here is something very important, which is if you kill someone in the process of performing a mitzvah, halacha l'maaseh, again, you are pater from galus. I will say. Now, that being said, I want to be clear. There is a major caveat to this. What's the major caveat? If in the course of performing a mitzvah, Beis Din could demonstrate negligence, Rabbi is disciplining a Talmud in a negligent way. Father is disciplining his child. Again, in those days when this type of discipline was appropriate. Again, so negligence could be shown. Shliach Beis Din goes ahead and is giving Makkos, and he gives one more makkah than he was supposed to. Well said, then those are cases of negligence. In cases of negligence, then there absolutely will be a punishment for that. We're talking about a case of discipline that's happening in quote-unquote a normative framework. If it happens in a normative framework, then halacha l'maaseh, again, if a person was engaged in the performance of a mitzvah, they are pater from golus. Fine. Says the Mishnah, Av gola idea bein, va'bein gola idea av. I will say a father is exiled because of his son, which I will say the pashtus means if a father kills his son accidentally, a father goes to galus. And if the son kills his father, accidentally goes to galus as well. Hakol golan al yidei Yisrael. Everyone goes to galus if they kill a Jew. V'Yisrael golan al yideihen. And the Jew goes to galus if he kills them. We'll discuss who the them is. Chutz miger toshav. We'll say, but if a Jew kills a ger toshav, we'll say ger toshav is a Gentile, a non-Jew, who has accepted upon himself Shem Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. So if a Jew kills him, he doesn't go to galus. The ger toshav and agola al yidei ger toshav. We'll say, and the Mishnah sounds like it's saying a ger toshav only goes to galus if what? If he kills another ger toshav. So we'll say a father goes to galus if he kills his son. But now we'll say we assume that what's the case ultimately where a father is killing his son? What's the case? Bepashas when he's disciplining him. But one second, we just said before that if a father is disciplining his son and Cheshvan accidentally kills him, that the father is pater. To which the Gemara says the gomer. The case where the kid is already disciplined. He's already disciplined. The father didn't need to discipline him more. When the father disciplined him more, ultimately the son was killed. That's where the father goes to galus. But one second, you said already before I will say that what? That even if the son was disciplined, there's still a mitzvah to what? to discipline him more. To which the Gemara says, "Oh, b'shuli dinagra." We'll say, what's the case? The case is where the father is training his son to be a carpenter. The father is a carpenter. His son is apprenticing with him. His son's not doing a good job. So what does the father do? He gives him a patch, and as a result, again, he kills him. So we'll say the assumption is that he disciplines him, but in the context of teaching him a parnasa. And I will say, therefore, again, that's not called the mitzvah performance, and that's why the father's chayiv. We'll say, 1 second. Chiyusi, teaching him about parnasa, dilamde. So we'll say the case. We'll say a father. Remember, we saw this in Kiddushin. A father has an obligation to teach his son a parnasa. So we'll say, amazing of teaching my son a parnasa is also part of his chinuch, and therefore, if he's slacking in the apprenticeship, and I give him a patch, and chas Hashem, the kid dies accidentally from the patch, that's also called disciplining a child in a mitzvah context. To which the Gemara answers, the Gamar umanase achrisi. He already has a trade. In other words, the father already taught him a trade that ultimately could support him. Father's teaching him an additional trade, which is there to go ahead and, an additional trade. So it said, because he already knows a trade, therefore when the father is teaching him the second trade, that's not called a mitzvah. When the father disciplines him in the course of teaching him the second trade, that's not called mitzvah performance. And if father Chastom accidentally kills the son, the father goes to Galus as a result. All right, we'll stop over here for today. Maybe we'll pick up over here tomorrow. Go ahead.